Good morning, students. In the last class, we discussed about subscriber loop interface. In which we see some of the topics such as signaling limits, and attenuation limits. So this limits comes under DC response, whereas this limits comes under AC response, in which is seen some of the ways and means to improve the length of the transmission line in case of signal limits. And here, coming to the attenuation limits, we discussed about the quality of the speech signal, that is customer satisfaction, comes under grade of customer satisfaction. So we discussed it in terms of REs, reference equivalence. Generally, the customer satisfaction is represented in terms of REs, reference equivalence. So to find the REs, there is one setup in Geneva called as NOSPA setup. So this is here it contains some standard equipments such as standard telephone set, standard cables for calibration. So we have to find out the TREs and RREs of these equipments with the help of these NOSPA setup that we have discussed in the previous class. And also along with this, we discussed the subscriber loop interfaces functions, which are nothing but battery feeding, overload protection, coding, hybrid, test, ringing. So all are some of the functions of a subscriber loop interface. So every exchange should require this subscriber loop interface to perform those functions. So these are topics we have covered in the previous class. Now in this class, coming to lecture 2, we will discuss about switching hierarchy and routing. So any telephone network should require some interconnections. For handling the traffic with the minimum number of exchanges. So this is the main objective of any telephone network. So here in this we will discuss about some topics called as trunk groups. So generally the exchanges are interconnected via trunks. Generally we will refer these trunks as trunk groups because some group of trunks are required between the exchanges to handle the traffic. Therefore, so interconnection of switching exchanges are done with the help of these trunk groups. Okay. And one more point here is these trunk groups are going to handle only traffic in one direction. Therefore, to handle traffic in both directions, every exchange requires two trunk groups. Therefore, two trunk groups are required between any two exchanges to handle the traffic in a bidirectional way. That's the first point. So here, the objective here is, with the help of a minimum number of trunk groups, you have to handle the traffic in efficient way. There are some topologies are there for connecting these telephone networks. One is called as mesh topology, and second one is called as star topology, and third one is called as hierarchy. So first coming to the mesh topology or mesh network, this comes under an example of fully connected network. So we already discussed about a fully connected network, right, in the first class. So if I am having something like some 5 exchanges are there. So what is the meaning of fully connected network? Fully connected network means there is a link between each and every exchange, right? So this is an example for a fully connected network where it requires n square links to connect all the exchanges in a fully connected manner. Therefore, the drawback in this method is the number of links required is large. But the advantage is we use this type of structures whenever the traffic is heavy. Okay, so it is a mesh topology is an example for a fully connected network, and number of trunk groups in this is equal to the square of the exchanges. And the main use of this type of topology is this is suitable for heavy traffics among the exchanges. So whenever traffic is huge, at that cases we have to go for this mesh topology. And next one is called as star network. So in case of star network, so this is first exchange and this is the second exchange. So two exchanges are connected via another exchange called as tandem exchange. Okay. So in case of star connection, so to connect two exchanges, these two are connected through an intermediate exchange called as a tandem exchange. So this is the intermediate exchange. So what is a tandem exchange? Tandem exchange generally contains only trunk, not subscriber lines. So already we discussed about trunks and lines. So when you call it as a trunks, so the copper wires which are connecting two different exchanges is called as trunks. Okay, what is lines or subscriber lines? The copper wires which are connecting the subscriber and exchange is called as lines. Okay, so in case of tandem exchange, it carries only the trunks. So no subscribers are connected to this exchange. This exchange is mainly meant for transmitting the traffic between two exchanges. Okay, so this type of connection is called as a star connection. So generally we use the star topologies when the traffic is low. So a tandem exchange is employed in case of a mesh topology. So all other exchanges are communicated through a tandem exchange. This is suitable for low traffic applications. So this is about star topology. So here I have to discuss one more thing before discussing hierarchical networks, that is called as multi-stage star. So what is the meaning of multi-stage star? Or before discussing this, you can see a two-level star network. So this is the structure of star topology. So here the exchanges are communicated with the help of one intermediate exchange called as tandem exchange. This is structure of star topology. Here you can see a two-level structures. So here it is going to use more number of tandem exchanges to communicate between multiple exchanges. So this is a two-level star connection. An orderly connected, a multi-level star comes under example of hierarchy. What is hierarchy? Hierarchy is a well-structured multi-level star topology is called as hierarchy. Clear? So now you can see the example of a hierarchy network. So this is an example for an pi-level hierarchy. So generally CCITT recommended a 5-level hierarchy structure for telephone networks. Okay, so this 5-level hierarchy is proposed by this CCITT. It recommended for telephone networks we can use a 5-level hierarchy structure so that to handle the traffic. So in this diagram, you can see some terminologies here. So LEA stands for local area, PA stands for primary area, SCA stands for secondary area, tertiary area, and quaternary area. Similarly, you can see here some centers: quaternary center, ternary center, secondary center, primary center, and local exchange. So all these are nothing but exchanges only. So all these are nothing but exchanges. Based upon the level, we have given some name as quaternary, ternary, secondary, primary, and so on. And you can see some dotted lines and solid lines. So this is a dotted line and this is a solid line. Now you can see how the traffic is handled in a hierarchy structure. Generally, initially it is trying to handle the traffic through the local exchanges. So with the help of this local exchange, it is going to handle the traffic with the help of some tandem exchange. For example, if traffic is more, then this particular local exchange path is unable to handle the traffic. That is, it cannot able to give connection between A to the B. So in that case, it is going to choose the second path to handle the traffic between A to the B. If this is also not possible, in this case it is going to take the next path. If this is also not failed, at any cost it has to establish connection between A to the B to the last path. This route is called as a final route. So ultimately, it should be established a connection between A to the B, either using the lower level hierarchy or high level hierarchy. The longest path or the last path, that is called as a final route between A to the B is defined. So generally, in the case of final route, so it has to handle the heavy traffic. So generally here they are going to use a mesh topology. So mesh topology is used in a final route because our objective is to handle the traffic without blocking the call. So generally we know that mesh topology is going to handle heavy traffic. So to accommodate the subscribers, they are going to use a mesh topology in the last route. That's one reason. The another reason is, for example, if they are not using mesh topology, then what happens? It contains only one path. One alternate path is provided here. For example, if any fault occurs in this path, then what happens? It may not able to create a connection between A to the B. Therefore, the call is disconnected, and moreover, the traffic will be lost. So that's the reason why generally they are going to use the mesh topology in the final route for providing more number of alternate paths so that it can handle more number of traffic. Okay, so here we can see some dash lines. So these dash lines are called as direct trunks. Call them as direct trunks. Okay, generally we use this type of direct trunks when the traffic between those exchanges is huge. To handle large traffics in between the exchanges, generally we are going to use these direct trunks. So these direct trunks are also called as high usage trunks. Okay. So here, so whenever the traffic is more, even if it is overcoming this traffic, then it will go to next level, and finally at any cost, it has to establish connection between A to the B to the final route. So this is about the structural hierarchy that is accepted by CCIPT for a telephone network. So here we are discussing that it is going to choose some levels or stages based upon the route. So now we'll discuss how the routing should be done in this case. So routing methods. There are three routing methods are there. First one is called as write-through routing. Second one is called as own exchange routing. And third one is called as computer control routing. Okay. So here we see that. So if this fails, it has to take another path. If it fails, it is going to take another path. So this is called routing of your call. So this routing can be done in three methods. What is first one? First one is called as write-through routing. So what is the meaning of write-through routing? So from one exchange to another exchange, there are multiple paths are available, right? So this is path 1, and this is path 2, and this is path 3, and so on. It contains some n paths. Okay, in case of write-through routing, initially it knows the entire topology of the network. Therefore, it knows how many paths are available from this exchange to that exchange. So in that case, the originating exchange, this is called as originating exchange, and this is called as destination exchange. Okay, so here this originating exchange is going to decide which path it has to choose to reach the destination exchange. So in between it contains different exchanges, E1, E2, and so on, some En. Okay, this to establish connection between destination to originator destination, it is going to include some n number of exchanges. So here, in case of write-through routing, the originating exchange will decide through which exchanges it is going to connect to the destination exchange. That is called as write-through routing. The intermediate exchanges will not take any decisions. Okay, it decides, so they have to follow. So what happens if you follow this method? So in this method, there is no, here computer is absent. Here there is no computer for controlling. So this type of method used whenever computer is absent. Okay. So here the intermediate exchanges cannot take decisions. For example, if traffic is more from between E1 to E2, then what happens? It cannot able to handle that call. Therefore, the call is terminated because of lack of free paths. So that is drawback in this method. So whenever the traffic is overloaded, then that call may not be established if they are using the write-through routing. So here we see the route is selected based upon the certain criteria such as time of the day, distribution of the traffic, etc. So this originating exchange is going to decide based upon these criteria, it is going to choose one path. If any exchange is having over traffic, at that time that call may not be connected. That is the drawback in this method. So this is one diagram you can see here. So from A to B I want to reach. So here it may decide that you have to use this path or this path. The intermediate exchanges will not bother about anything. Will not take any decisions. The next one is own exchange routing. So here they are going to give some flexibility for the intermediate exchanges to take decisions. For example, take the same case. This is the ordinary exchange. This is the destination exchange. So this is path 1, and this is path 2, or something. This is path 3. So it contains some exchanges E1, E2, En, and this is some E5. For example, so after reaching E1, now E1 can take decision whether you can use this path, or this path. That is called as own exchange routing. So based upon traffic, it can route that traffic to another exchange so that that call may not be terminated because of lack of availability of switching paths or free paths. Okay. So this is capable of responding to change in the traffics. And one more point here is, in case of previous case, so whenever a new exchange is added into the network, whenever a new exchange is added to the network, then it has to rewrite all the routes, possible routes between the originating and destination exchange. Okay, so in case of previous case, whenever a new exchange is added into the system or network, then this has to rewrite all the possible paths between the originating exchange and destination exchange using this new exchange. Okay, therefore the complexity increases. Okay, whereas in case of own exchange routing, even though the new exchange is added to the network, there is not that much change is required in a routing. That's the advantage of using own exchange routing. Okay, so minimal modifications are required when new exchanges are added. That is the advantage. So this is another circuit where you can see it can take decision. It can take decision. It can take decision. So any exchange can take its own decision for routing the path between the originating and destination exchanges. And the last one is computer controlled exchanges. Generally, this type of controlling is used in common channel signalings, where with the help of a computer we are going to route the source and destination. So generally, in today's telephone networks, we use this type of routing. With the help of a computer, we are going to route the source and destination exchanges. Okay. So based on the use of common channel signaling systems, we are going to control the routings. So we'll discuss this topic in detail in this chapter only. That is the last topic of unit number 4, common channel signaling. So here we are going to use a separate computer for controlling the signaling informations. So the number of routing methods can be implemented. These are some of the points regarding the computer controlled routing. Okay. So here one is for traffic. That is for one is for your traffic, another is for signaling. So both signaling as well as data transmission can be done with the help of this computer control routing. Generally, this type of controlling is used in for data networks. Nowadays, we can say that these networks are suitable for both voice as well as data. Right? Therefore, this computer control signaling routing is used for both voice and data. Okay. So this is about switching hierarchy and routing used in telephone networks. Thank you.